You guys know how Gen Zers are telling millennials that if they wear their hair parted on the side that they're old? Every time I part my hair on the side now, it's all I can think about. Can we just take a second to see what my hair would look like if it was in the center? Lord Farquaad. Is this what they want? Side parts forever. Hi guys, what's up? Welcome back. Those are just my Monday thoughts. I felt like I had to share them with you. I hope you're all doing well. Today's video is going to be really fun because we are going to be doing a dupe video. And this isn't just any old dupe video. I specifically found dupes for some of my favorite luxury products, which is going to be really fun. So I'm going to be doing one side of my face with the drugstore products, one side with the high end, and let me know in the comments if you have any thoughts on any of the products that I'm going to be talking about today. And I want you to spill your secrets. If you have any new drugstore dupes that you've recently discovered, I just think since we're exchanging information like this today, I just think it's fair that you share them down below and let everybody else in on your dupe secrets. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up button if you do enjoy dupe videos. When you guys hit the like button, it really does help me out and just lets me know that you like my videos and want to see more, and it just gives me a better idea of what you guys actually want to see. And if you're not already subscribed, it would mean the world to me if you hit the subscribe button and join the fam. Would really love to have you. And without further ado, let's dupe it up. What? So the first product that I'm going to be duping is this by Terry Brightening CC Serum Radiance Elixir in the shade Sunny Flash. So this is one of my favorite glow boosting, bronzing boosting types of bases. I really love mixing this in specifically with my foundation. This particular color does add a little bit of like a bronzy tone to my foundation, and it also adds a really beautiful glow, but it's also not over the top, and I just find it to be a very flattering product. It does retail for $115 Canadian. It's very pricey. Now on the drugstore side, I have the Flower Beauty Heat Wave Bronzing Essence. To be honest with you guys, when I first tried this, I really wasn't a huge fan of it. I don't like using this product on its own because I do find that this does get a little bit patchy when you do apply it on its own and then your foundation on top. I find that this works beautifully when you apply it directly into your foundation, the same way I would apply the by Terry, but I do know that there can be some confusion with how to actually apply these types of products, and I just wanted to make it very clear that when you do apply this on its own, like on your face underneath your foundation, it just doesn't look as good, and I would definitely recommend mixing it in. But when you do mix it in, this gives pretty much the exact same effect as the by Terry CC Serum. The undertones are slightly different, and I'll show you guys what they look like next to each other, but besides that, they do give pretty much the exact same effect to the skin. Here's what they look like side by side. This is by Terry and this is Flower Beauty. They look very similar, but the Flower Beauty is slightly warmer. You can see besides the undertone, they have pretty much the exact same finish and look to them. And they do also have a very similar feel. Both products kind of dry down to the skin and they don't stay oily or serum-like once you actually put them on. So they're not gonna make your foundation more oily if that's something you would be concerned about. So like I said, I don't really like to apply these on their own, and I do prefer to mix them in with my foundation. So we're gonna have to jump to the foundation and then we'll jump back to this when it's time to mix things in together. So the foundation that I'm gonna be duping is the Makeup Forever Reboot. This is probably one of my all-time favorite foundations. I really like this because I find it looks really natural and fresh on the skin, and it stays that way throughout the entire day. And it also has a really nice medium coverage, but you can build it up or you can sheer it out, so it is quite versatile as well. So the foundation that I found to be pretty similar to this, and this is actually more of like a recent discovery for me, but it's also a foundation that I used to wear when I was like, I don't even know, 17, 16, a long time ago. And it is the Rimmel Lasting Radiance Medium Coverage Foundation. Now my mom actually got this for me in the drugstore makeup swap video that we did not too long ago. And my mind was blown when I tried this, and immediately I found that it reminded me of the Makeup Forever Reboot because it has very similar characteristics to it. It's very natural looking on the skin, and it just looks so fresh. And I wore this for the entire day, and I've obviously worn it since, and I just find that, again, similar to the Makeup Forever Reboot, it stays looking fresh and luminous and beautiful, and it doesn't like fade or break up or do anything weird on my skin like some foundations do for the entire day. So I'm going to start off first with the high-end side, which I'm going to use on this side of my face, the left side, and then the drugstore side will be on the right side of my face. So starting off first with the Makeup Forever Reboot, I'm going to do 2 pumps. Actually, I probably only need one because I'm only doing one side, but it's fine. And then a tiny little squirt of the by Terry bronzer. I like to put about that much in there. And let's just start applying. So I find that one of the keys with this foundation, what makes it look so natural looking, is the fact that you don't need to apply a lot of that foundation in order to get coverage. And so obviously the less foundation you have to use, the lighter it's going to look on the skin. The more lightweight, rather, it's going to look on the skin. And then just talking about the By Terry bronzer, I know it's probably a little bit difficult to tell, but you see this really nice sheen that the foundation has that is from the By Terry product. And it does have this really subtle bronzier undertone, which doesn't change the color of the foundation. It just kind of warms up the skin a little bit. Okay, now let's do the drugstore side. I'm gonna do about 1 pump of the Rimmel and then about a drop of the Heat Wave. Just do the same thing, just apply a little bit and just tap it out. This foundation I find is so underrated. I hear like nobody talk about it, and it's probably one of my favorite foundations that I've tried, honestly. It just looks so good. Look at that. Look at that finish on my skin. I'm obsessed. Honestly, we gotta thank Mama Trudy for that one, because I don't think I would have picked this up if it wasn't for her. Now, I am always a little bit nervous when I do dupe videos, especially when I'm comparing two foundations, because it's great if you find two foundations that have like the same type of formula, but if they're not the same color, it's gonna look really weird for the entire video. But these two shades are actually very similar to one another. If you're wondering what shade I used, it's Y225 in the Makeup Forever, and then on the Rimmel side, this is Ivory. So now let's move on to concealer. Now let's start off first with the drugstore side. This is another product that my mom gave me in my drugstore swap video that I did with her, and it's another one that I've been consistently loving since that video. And it's another Rimmel product, and it's the Rimmel Match Perfection Concealer. It's very lightweight, but it still has good coverage, and it just looks so hydrating underneath the eyes. And the concealer that I find that this is very similar to is one of my obviously favorites, the Ilia True Skin Serum Concealer. And I do find that they have very similar consistencies. They're both creamy, but they are thin in texture. It is kind of difficult to show you a dupe of a concealer, because I feel like you really need to be able to feel the texture to fully understand how similar they actually are. So you kind of just have to trust me on this one. But also similar to the foundation, these two shades match perfectly, which is kind of crazy. The Ilia shade is Suma, and then the Rimmel shade is 230 Fair Light. Let's start off first with the Ilia side. I'm just gonna put my concealer in these three spots and just blend out the concealer this way. Nothing more to say there. It looks great. Now I'm gonna go in with the Rimmel one. The only thing I don't like about this concealer is the applicator. I don't like a brush tip applicator for a concealer. I'm gonna really zoom you guys in, because I really want you to see as best as you can just how similar these two look. Rimmel, Ilia. I feel like both sides of my face look identical, which is kind of what we're going for. So far so good. Okay, so concealer and foundation are done. Now let's talk bronzer. So I know this is a dupe video of some of my favorite high-end products, and I haven't spoken too kindly about this Luxe bronzer that I'm about to show you guys. I don't know what to say. Even though I don't love this bronzer, I still use it almost every single day. So the bronzer is the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Bronzer in number 2 medium. I think I've kind of found my way with this bronzer, and obviously I do like it because I do use it very, very often. But I think with this product, it was all about setting my expectations at the correct level. Now, there were two issues that I initially had with this product. First of all, the shade that I had, which was one fair or one light, the one shade, whatever that was way too light for me. And so it didn't really show up on my skin. The 2 medium is definitely a better shade for me. But this formula is more so on the buildable sheer side. It's not super intense, super pigmented. And I do really like this type of formula for every day for that reason, because it just looks really, really natural looking. Like if I want a bronze look, I don't go for a bronzer like this, but for every day when I kind of just want a wash of color, I've been using this like very, very often. And what makes this bronzer really nice is that it is a really soft bronzer, and so it looks super smooth on the skin, and it never looks blotchy or obvious. So yes, a huge roller coaster of emotions with this guy. So when looking for a dupe with this bronzer, I wanted to find something that was equally as natural looking, that was easy to build up, that was a really smooth powder, and that was kind of just more on the natural side. And that is this Quo bronzer over here in the shade Cool Contour. I mean, first of all, the colors, almost identical. This Quo bronzer is also so smooth. When you touch it, it feels so buttery, and it's actually more buttery and feels more smooth than the Charlotte Tilbury guy. If my eyes were closed and I was touching both bronzers at the same time, I would guess that this was more high end. So again, because of that texture, I find that it applies so smoothly in a really flattering way, and they just look very similar to one another when they're actually on the face. So let's actually apply. I'm gonna go in with the Charlotte Tilbury bronzer first on this ColourPop F28 brush. With this bronzer too, you really gotta like get in there to pick up a good amount of bronzer. You don't have to be shy with it. And I'm just gonna sweep it on my cheekbone, temple, and jawline. And you guys saw how much bronzer I was trying to pick up, but how lightly that applied to my face. That is the upside to this product, is that again, you really can't mess it up. And it looks so natural looking. But that could be also a downside for some people, which it was for me when I first started using this. So all in what you're looking for. So that's what it looks like on the skin. Definitely looks very blended. It gives a nice soft layer of warmth on the skin. Okay, with the Quo bronzer, I will say it's not as forgiving as the Charlotte Tilbury one. You do have to be a little bit more, not careful because it's not a super powdery bronzer, but I wouldn't suggest like stabbing this and then applying it to your face because you will over apply. I'm just gonna pick up a normal amount and just start to buff it on my face. And you see, no harsh lines, blends beautifully. Even going with a little bit more, just kind of building it up a bit, just here. But there you have it. There is the Quo, Charlotte Tilbury. Which one do you guys prefer? Okay, now let's talk blush. And this is a dupe that I've mentioned before, but I couldn't not mention this in this video because we are talking about some of my favorite products, and this dupe is so spot on and it's so exact, and I just feel it would be a crime if I didn't present it to you again in this video. And the dupe is for the M Cosmetics Serum Blushes. This is probably my top 3 favorite liquid cream blush formula. It's so beautiful because it kind of mixes a blush product and a skincare product in one. Not that this has skincare benefits to it, but it's essentially a serum formula. And so when you apply this to your skin, it just has the most beautiful, sheer, glossy finish, similar to like a skincare product. So this one in particular is in the shade Sunset Sky, one of my favorite shades. And I have another Quo product here. And yeah, it's like the exact same product. This is called the Dewy Cheek Tint in the shade Crushing 63. I mean, same applicator. You got the serum formula, very similar shade as well. This one is a little bit brighter. So there it is. It has definitely the exact same texture. I will say the only difference between the two is I do find that the M Cosmetics one has a little bit more punch to it. The shades that do have a little bit more pigment. So let's apply these to the cheeks so you guys can see what they actually look like on. Starting off first with the M Cosmetics. How I like to apply this is just with my finger. I put like a drop or two on the back of my hand and just blend it on my cheek like so. Look at how pretty that looks on the cheek though. It gives you such a nice glow. So there's M Cosmetics. Okay, now we're gonna go in with the Quo Beauty. I'm gonna do the same thing, just put a little bit on the back of my hand. And you can see they blend out in the exact same way. And they blend just as easily. Probably one of my favorite dupes that I've ever found. When I discovered this, I may have screamed a little bit. This next dupe really excites me like a lot. So I've been trying to find a drugstore dupe for Pat McGrath eyeshadows for a really long time because Pat McGrath shadows are like so beautiful. They are so creamy, you guys. Like when you touch them, they don't even feel like a powder. And because of that creaminess, the metallics especially, they pop. They look out of this world. They're just very, very pricey. I mean, the palettes are expensive and the single eyeshadows are expensive too. This particular formula from L'Oreal blows me out of the water. Obviously, so comparable to a super luxurious eyeshadow. So these are called the oil eyeshadows. So because of this oil, I feel like that's what gives it that super creamy, very intense, almost wet-like consistency when you apply to the eyes. Again, if you would touch these two side by side, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. It was a little bit more difficult for me to find two shades that matched each other perfectly. This is mainly a formula dupe and not so much an exact color dupe, but I found two bronzy shades that do have very similar feels to them. So first we have the Pat McGrath here. This one is in Corrupt Copper, and this is what it looks like swatched. It almost looks like liquid. It's so intense. And then we have the L'Oreal shade over here, which is called number 38 Bravery. That's what it looks like. And here they are side by side. So besides the obvious slight color difference between the two, they both apply in the exact same super intense, super foiled, super creamy way. I do have 3 more of the L'Oreal shades, so I'm gonna swatch them for you guys just so you can see, because again, I'm just so impressed by them. So we have this bright raspberry one, which is called Ruler. It's so pretty. Bam. Do you know how hard it is to find a color like this that applies like that? Then we have this gorgeous deep purpley brown shade called Fighter. One swipe, guys. And then last but not least, we have this beautiful champagne color in Extra, which looks like that. It has a really, really nice shine to it. So this is a little bit annoying because both shades aren't exact, so it is gonna look a little bit different from one side to the other, but whatever, it's the nature of a dupe video. So I'm gonna start off first with the Pat McGrath side, and I'm gonna apply them both in the same way with my finger. And I'm just gonna swipe it all over my lid. Look at that, beautiful. So I'm just gonna apply it first and then we'll blend both out at the same time. But now I'm gonna go in with the L'Oreal guy. Applies in the exact same way, guys. Look at that. I'm like patting myself in the back for this one a little bit too much. You know what, on the eyes, they don't even look that different in color. I'm gonna take a little bit of my bronzer and just add that in my crease just to have something there. So let's talk mascara. On the high-end side, I have an all-time favorite, the Ilia Limitless Lash. I have been speaking about this mascara for years at this point. I love this because I find that it does a really, really good job of lengthening and separating my lashes. I also really love the wand. It is really spiky, so it does a really good job of literally brushing through my lashes, and it just is really effective and also lasts super well. Recently, I've tried a very popular mascara at the moment, which is the Maybelline Sky High Lash Sensational. And as soon as I tried this thing and as soon as I saw it, it reminded me instantly of the Ilia Limitless Lash. I do find that both of these wands are pretty similar, although there are some key differences. I wouldn't say this is a 1000% dupe, but I think we're hitting like an 80% dupe here. So this is what both of the wands look like. We have the Maybelline one in the pink tube and the Ilia one in the metallic tube, and they both have a very similar shape and a very similar style of wand. And besides that, this gives a very similar effect to the lashes. It's very lengthening and it does a good job of kind of separating out the lashes. I think that's why it's so popular right now, because people love how lengthening this thing is. The biggest difference between both of these mascaras is the fact that this is a very flexible wand, so it literally bends like any way you put it. It's very, 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 very flexible, whereas the Ilia one isn't. And that's actually the one thing about this that I don't like. I find it kind of difficult to control when you have a wand that's this flexible, but it still gives a really beautiful effect. I'm gonna zoom you guys in even closer and let me show you guys what I mean by how similar they are. So I'm gonna start off first with the Ilia side. You see how it keeps my lashes looking really nice and fluffy? That's the Ilia one. Now let's go in with the Maybelline Sky High. Besides the mascara that I got all over my eyeshadow, these two mascaras look identical, you guys. Like, you can see how fluffy and kind of separated my lashes look on this side, and on this side, they give the exact same effect. So I think this is a pretty solid dupe besides the flexibility in the Maybelline wand. For the lips, this is another one that got me very excited. This is one of my favorite everyday lipsticks for the summertime. It is a Gucci lipstick in the shade No More Orchids. And it looks like a very, very bright coral, but on the lips, it kind of just gives a nice bright but wearable wash of color. And it has just a very comfortable finish as well. So I found a very, 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 very similar lipstick from Wet n Wild. So obviously, I mean, Gucci Wet n Wild, this is going to be a lot less expensive. Pretty much the same type of finish. The color is also very similar, but it's like 10% more peach, whereas the Gucci one has a little bit more like pink to it. It was close enough that I felt like I still wanted to mention it. And again, it's the formula really that I'm talking about here. The same kind of balm-like texture. It gives a really nice sheer bright wash of color, but it's still really, really wearable. I mean, on the lips, again, I feel like you can't even tell much of a difference. I didn't even say what the product was. I got too excited. It is the Wet n Wild Mega Last High Shine Brilliance lipstick in the shade Bellini Overflow. This would be a great color for the summer. But right now I'm looking at a snowstorm, so neither of those lipsticks actually go with my look. I'm just gonna put on a nude. That finishes off my makeup. So let's take a final look at both sides. We have the high-end side over here, and then the drugstore side over here. I mean, I'm looking at myself in the mirror right now. I'm looking up close, and I cannot even see a difference between the two sides, which again just means it was a very successful dupe video. Round of applause, round of applause. Hey guys, it's the end of the day. It's close to 8 p.m. I've been wearing this makeup for at least 8 hours now, and I figured it would be interesting to show you an update of what both sides of my face are looking like. Okay, so we have the high-end side on this side and the drugstore side on this side. I honestly don't even really have much of a preference, and I don't see any difference between both sides of my face. I feel like my skin wore really nicely on the high-end side. And on the drugstore side, I almost feel like the drugstore foundation even looks a little bit less worn. Besides the skin, the most notable thing to mention is absolutely the eyeshadow. I actually am really shocked at what happened to my eyeshadow on the high-end side. So like I said in the video, I didn't put on an eyeshadow primer, and clearly I needed to, because look at Pat McGrath. Where is she? She's nowhere to be seen. It's completely off of my eye. I literally just have a little bit of eyeshadow left over at my lash line. Everything else is gone. And the L'Oreal side did definitely wear better, but it still faded a little bit. I think I just needed an eye primer, clearly. Besides that, there's no smudging on the mascara. Still looking good and fresh. Yeah, the only thing that really suffered today is the eyeshadow. So that was interesting. But that's it for my update from Future Jamie. Goodbye. All right, guys, that's it. I would love to hear all of your thoughts on everything that I showed you guys today. Are you going to be testing out any of these dupes yourself? Do you already have some of these products in your collection? I want to hear everything you have to say down in the comments. Hit the thumbs up button if you did enjoy today's video, and subscribe if you want to join the fam. And I will see you guys in the next one.